Hello again, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Inside Tulsa Athletics as we continue to follow the athletic programs of the Tulsa Public Schools, both boys and girls. And today, a very interesting show for you, as we're going to be talking about the Tournament of Champions. And of course, the sports writer for the Tulsa World, Terrell, was the one when it started back, I think it was 1966. Well, Terrell's going to be aboard for 2 segments. And then we're going to turn to the staff of Gil Cloud, Director of Athletics. We'll visit with Mick Wilson and Jen Sanders. And of course, we have a couple of basketball coaches as well. All of that coming up. I think you'll enjoy the show. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard one of the great all-time sports writers of Tulsa. And he was the man who started the Tournament of Champions back in 1966, Terrell Lester. Terrell, it's a pleasure having you aboard.
It's always a pleasure to be here with J.B. Haney.
And when you look back at the Tournament of Champions, 1966, I have to say this. I was coaching a Seminole. We come up and we have to play Preston, a Class C team. We were Class 2A. We didn't worry about that. They beat us.
You should have worried about it.
Yes, I should.
You should have worried about it because Charlie Wallace, who was a 6'5" guard, 1965-66 season, there weren't a lot of 6'5" guards running around. He was also good enough, in addition to beating you, he's also good enough. He got the attention of Abe Lemons, and Abe Lemons took him to OCU that year, so when he graduated that year, sure.
Well, you know, as you look back, and I don't think you have missed a tournament, either working it or as a fan watching it. But there have been so many from the small schools that have come out of there and gone on a college scholarship.
Well, let me start from the beginning then, as long as we're talking about the history. The tournament was begun by Wayne Mason, who was a sports writer at the Tulsa World. I replaced him that year. And he had gone to the Tournament of Champions in Kansas with Tulsa Central and Eddie Sutton. They won it in '65. So Wayne Mason comes back, talks to Doug Duggar and says, hey, we ought to have a tournament like the one they have in Kansas. A couple of other schools were approached by Wayne. They said no, but Doug Duggar, the visionary that he was, said, yes, we'll do it here at Memorial. As a result, they started the tournament. I handled the first tournament, filled in one of the teams that did not show up, got them at the last minute. The whole purpose of the tournament was to take 4 small schools against 4 big schools, have the little Davids and the Goliaths play each other, and you were on the verge of that Goliath part, you being a 2A school. 3A, I believe, was the class.
Yes.
That was the biggest classification. And so we had that very first tournament, and we had a great team from Oklahoma City Northeast with Ray Russell, one of the great players in the history of Oklahoma basketball. They got beat in the semifinals by Class B Inola, and Inola went ahead the next night and beat Memorial on its home court. The tournament was held at Memorial about the first 12 years or so. Class B Inola beats Memorial after they beat Northeast. So all of a sudden, this tournament that was built on David versus Goliath was being heard around the state because Class B Inola upset and pinned the only loss in 2 years on Ray Russell and Northeast. It was a great start to what has become a great tournament.
And you know, Inola then, they were very, very good.
Well, they were very good. They had a great coach in Boyd Linduff. They had 5 starters. They had 7 or 8 or 9 players, I guess, who really played a lot, but they had the 5 starters that were as good as anybody in the state. They went to the state semifinals that year and were upset in the state semifinals. And last week I was at Inola. They are still proud to display that trophy that they won in 1966. Clyde Barkley is coaching over there, who you know very well. and he was talking about the tournament, they still talk about that weekend in 1966. They talk about it today in Inola and all across Rogers County.
Well, you know, I think that is the great thing about it. Over the years, we know every year that now where you have 6A and 5A, it's awful difficult for a small school to beat one. But through the period of the Tournament of Champions, they did come through more than once. And I know that was exciting for you as a writer.
Well, when you have a small school that gets its one chance during the season to play a big school power, they get a chance to play them and they get a chance to beat them. If you're not moved by that, if you're not enthused by that, you've got one foot over here in the grave, I think, because that's an exciting thing.
Well, Terrell, back over the years, some of the small schools that stand out in your mind.
Well, it doesn't take long to come up with some small schools. And let's go ahead and we'll move past Inola because that is ancient history now. Even though you were in the tournament at that time, you're not an ancient historian.
Yeah, really I am.
But in 1978, New Lima comes up here, and they were here for their third year in a row. And Jim Knapp, the great coach at at New Lima, had told me every year, my dream is to win the Tournament of Champions. Now, he has state championships. He's in the Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame. His one goal was to win the Tournament of Champions. And by golly, when Eddie Louie was a senior, he comes up here and wins that thing in the course of an undefeated season. And Eddie Louie was the MVP. He was also one of the first inductees into the Hall of Fame, the Tournament of Champions Hall of Fame. Eddie Louie and Jim Knapp just put on one great show, and it was the highlight, I think, of his Hall of Fame career.
Well, when you look back on that particular period, it is what bounced in to what I consider now the Tournament of Champions is as big as a state tournament.
I had always kind of envisioned that would be the case one of these days, and now we're in our 54th tournament.
Wow.
54 years, 53 years, I guess, because in the late 80s, I guess, Mike Brown decided that it was time to put it to a holiday tournament. We moved it out of January and put it into the holiday tournament between Christmas and New Year's, where it is now, and that has also helped make the tournament that much more attractive, because now during the holidays, the Christmas holidays, it's the only game in town now. And so if you're a high school basketball fan, now you've got 8 of the best boys teams. Now we've got 8 of the best girls teams. Now you've got 16 great teams you can watch in 3 days at the Mabee Center.
And you know, at the particular time when they introduced the girls, a lot of the people had a negative thought. I think it's worked out perfect. People can come now and watch the best of both boys and girls. Where else could you go and do that?
I don't know of any other place. And the field itself, with the boys and the girls teams being so good, that's part of it. The other part is going to the Mabee Center and watching it in the gold seat comfort of the Mabee Center.
We need to take a break and then come back, and we want to talk about this year's Tournament of Champions. Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. We're back in just a moment.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
My dad's always saying a little extra effort now will really pay off later. Here's how you can put in just a little extra effort and help out our schools in a big way. Just switch your checking account to TTCU. It's easy, and every time you use your school pride card, TTCU donates to our schools. So far, over $1 million. They're the only ones doing that. So make the switch to TTCU and be the person who's making a difference for our schools.
We continue Inside Tulsa Athletics with Terrell Lester, former writer for the Tulsa World and the man that was most responsible for the Tournament of Champions. And, you know, we talked a lot about the history, but some of the great players, those have been inducted into the Tournament of Champions Hall of Fame. I think our viewing audience would love to hear you talk about them.
You're a coach, and you know that good players make good coaches. Great
Abs-
players make great coaches. Well, great players have made a great tournament. And I mentioned it at the outset about Eddie Louie, who led New Lima to a Tournament of Champions title. You know, everybody around Tulsa, around Oklahoma remembers Wayman Tisdale. Wayman Tisdale played in the tournament, was a great player, was a Hall of Fame player in the Tournament of Champions. You can go over there and Ray Russell, who was the very first one, the very first superstar. Steve Mitchell, who came out of Oklahoma City Northwest when they won it back-to-back. He goes on to Kansas State, plays for Jack Hartman, and he was a Big Eight player, a star player. We had players more recently. I like to look back, and you do too. We've talked about it many times. The year that Rodney Clark and Keaton Page played at the Fairgrounds Pavilion, it was an overflow crowd. The tournament director at that time, Tommy Thompson, had to hold up the tournament start that day for about 30 minutes just to get the crowd in to accommodate them for Keaton Page and Rodney Clark. And they turned out to be the number 1 and number 2 leading scorers in the history of Oklahoma high school basketball. Those two stand out. Kalena Abazuki, he's the all-time leading scorer in this thing. He played three tournaments and scored a ton. He scored 65 in one game, played at Victory Christian, scored 65 for a single game record, has the tournament 3-game scoring record. What a great player he was, and we can just go on down there. Do anybody at your time, from your side, do you think of anybody right offhand?
Well, you know, I go back a long ways on it, and some of the players that you have already talked about always stand out in my mind. And I know that, you know, I remember Doug Duggar so well at Memorial High School because that was his baby.
Right, it was, very much so. Wayne Mason talked him into it, he agreed to it, and then he helped really set this thing on a winning schedule because he did all the things then that we needed to do to bring teams in and coaches in. He had the parties at his home. He rolled out the red carpet for the teams and for the coaches. It really was a great start. And then, you know, once the word got around that the hospitality was centered in Tulsa, Oklahoma, well, then the other coaches wanted to come here, the other coaches wanted to play, and the kids growing up wanted to play because they had seen all the superstars come through in those early years.
When we look at it this year, what do we have coming up?
Besides a great tournament?
Yes.
Well, Marcello Vila, who played at Southeast in Oklahoma City and won this tournament, he is going to go into the Boys Hall of Fame. He played at Oral Roberts University after he left Southeast. He will be recognized. And on the girls' side, Ashley Hobbs from Pecola, she didn't win it, but she had a great 2 years as a player, and so she will be inducted into the Girls Hall of Fame. Both inductions will be on Saturday night of the championship round.
And you know what, Terrell, has really impressed me is the Tournament of Champions now, having it after Christmas, that people will come and stay. They'll go out there and watch the first game of the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, boys one day, girls next day, and sit there until 10 o'clock at night watching some of the greatest high school teams, coaches, as well as players that you could get.
There's nothing like championship basketball, popcorn at 9 o'clock in the Mabee Center. Just those three things just go together, and maybe a hot dog for brunch.
And you know, I think that we really need to mention what Gil Cloud has done in the last 4 or 5 years that he's been the director of athletics in bringing in entertainment and doing what Mick Wilson does to get the very best 8 teams in both boys and girls. I think they're doing a fantastic job of it.
I think when you look at the tournament being 54 years old, I think that identifies itself as being the work of a lot of people. And at this level, it starts at the top, and that would be Gil Cloud and Mick Wilson They are the ones that have carried this thing on and even enriched the tournament as such during this time, is that because of all the things they do now with the lunch during the middle of the week that leads up to the brackets being introduced, all the work that they do. I think it's a quality tournament led by quality people.
Well, and I'll tell you what you're talking about there is something that impacts basketball on all levels, on both boys and girls. And I think it has a great impact on people who normally aren't basketball fans. But suddenly they go out there and watch this. Everybody has such a great time, they come back.
Well, you and I have been out there for a few of them, haven't we? For about 54 of them, maybe.
Have you missed one?
I've seen bits and pieces of every year. Now, I haven't sat through every game, but certainly I've made an appearance, and I've been sitting up there in the stands and been sitting at the scorer's table, been sitting up there in the cheap seats. I've been all over the place, working and watching for 54 years.
Well, the thing that gets me is the fact that I've been away with University of Tulsa basketball and missed a few. Enjoyed having you aboard. Hope to do it again.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. When we come back, Conley Phipps, head basketball coach at Booker T. Washington, comes aboard. That's next on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple. Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. TulsaRefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard the head basketball coach at Booker T. Washington High School, Coach Conley Phipps. And Coach, you've got them going. You're looking forward to the Tournament of Champions, and kind of bring us up to date, especially what you did over Thanksgiving.
Well, we went down, played in the Hoop Fest down in Duncanville, and we were fortunate to come away. We won both games, beat a good Dallas Kimball team, and then turn around the next afternoon and beat Arlington Lamar. So we're off to a good start, and you know, looking forward to the Tournament of Champions. A great field this year, and something that my guys really enjoy playing in. It's a great honor, you know, to get the opportunity to do that. So we're looking forward to doing it again.
You know, that's something that I think has really developed more in the last 7 or 8 years, especially the last 3 or 4, where the kids really want to be in the Tournament of Champions, and then they want to win it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, you know, and of course, you know, I grew up watching the Tournament Champions, you know, when it was at Memorial High School.
Yes.
You know, sitting on the front row and there as a youngster, and, you know, I think that's great memories for me, watching all the great players and great teams and great coaches. And, you know, I think it's a really neat deal. Now it's in the Mabee Center. I think guys like going in there and using those locker rooms and playing in the big building and playing the best teams. And so it's a great opportunity for any kids that get to play today, boys or girls.
Well, you know, Conley, I think it's really, you brought out something there, like for 6A and 5A, when the state tournament is held in the Mabee Center, you can go down there and play in the Tournament of Champions. That's about as good a preparation as you can get for the state tournament.
No, it's a great point. You know, it's a bigger arena, so you know, if you haven't played in there, you know, you probably are at a disadvantage. So it's a good opportunity to get in there and get a feel for playing in there. And you know, the Mabee Center is still one of the all-time great arenas, even though it's, geez, I mean, 40 years old. I mean, I played the NCAA tournament there in 1985. It was hosting regionals, NCAA regionals, and it still stands the test of time. So it's a great arena, a lot of fun to play in.
And you know, when you say that, the same thing, every time I walk in there, I can't believe that it is old as it is. They've kept maintaining it very good. The seating is great. The vision, wherever you're sitting, you feel like you're right there on the court.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
that makes them. Give us a little update on your team, on the kids that have maybe come along that you weren't expecting to come this far, and those that are good that you expected.
okay. Well, you start talking about Booker T. You got to start with Bryce Thompson, 6'5" junior, guard, played very well down in Duncanville. Big man in the middle, Seth Hurd, 6'6", 6'7", senior, had a good tournament, averaged about 15 points a game and 7 or 8 rebounds down in Duncanville. Then we've Jalen Breath, one of our new guys that's played well, 6'8", junior, probably averaged 14 and 8 down in Duncanville as well. Trey Phipps had a couple of good games down in Duncanville, 6'2", junior, and then Kriston Driver, who started a lot for us last year at the point guard spot, does all the dirty work. You know, team leader, take a charge, move the ball, make the right decision. You know, very, very good leader on and off the floor. And then Mike McHenry, senior, off the bench, played well. Got a couple young guys. Cam Parker, freshman, I.J. Johnson, freshman, that can come in and contribute. So we've got a good squad, good nucleus, good mix of young and old guys.
And your schedule is a little different this year, isn't it?
A little different. We changed conferences, got out of the Green Country and into the Frontier. So you know, a lot of really good teams in the Green Country, and a lot of you know, rivalries were built over the years in the Green Country with the other TPS schools. But you know, we kind of felt like with our move to 6A, looking at the ADM numbers, we're going to stay in 6A for the foreseeable future. You know, so now we're in the league with Jenks, Union, Owasso, Broken Arrow, Barnesville, the biggest schools over here on this side of the state.
And you know, when you look at that, I'm sure there's good points and there's bad points, but I think it's going to be something that the fan base will enjoy as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, everything new, there's always some resistance. But I think for Booker T basketball, moving forward in 6A, you know, joining the Frontier, you know, just makes a lot of sense for everybody.
We're about to run out of time, but just in a couple of seconds, what do you have coming on? Good group coming up?
Yeah, I've got some good young players. Yeah, got some good young players. So the future is bright at Booker T. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, looking forward to watching you in the Tournament of Champions, and it's always a pleasure what you do at Booker T Washington, and we'll catch you then.
Coach Haney, great to see you. Thank you.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. When we come back, we're going to visit with Gary Pitts. He's the head girls basketball coach at East Central High School. That's next, Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. TulsaRefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework. He hates homework. I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's
I'm
just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
1 in 5 children struggle with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to understood.org.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard Gary Pitts, who is the head girls basketball coach at East Central High School. And Gary, when we take a look, first of all, congratulations on being invited into the Tournament of Champions. That's always a great tournament to go to.
It really is. We really appreciate it. We missed it for a year, but usually East Central is usually playing in it, and we've been pretty successful in it. So we really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to play in it again.
And really, when you look at it with your girls, that's something that they've been to before. They know what it is, and I'm sure that they will come to it with the full emotion that you want.
Yes, it will. It's a tournament that has quite a bit of competition. All classes play in it, and usually all the classes are pretty good. We've been beat before by a Class A team and a Class 2A team. So, you know, I believe the competition is great, and all the kids' parents get to come watch them play.
Now, you've started off your 1-0 on the season, and who did you defeat?
Played Bishop Kelly over there at Kelly High School, and it was a nice atmosphere. The girls got a chance to open the season up, and a lot of the girls don't have a lot of experience. So to play on the road like that at a type of environment was good.
And Gary, you mentioned earlier that you be headed toward Fort Smith for a tournament, and I'm sure that there are good teams over there.
Very good team. We kick off with Northside, which is ranked number 16 in the nation, and then there's some couple of other teams. I think Moore from Oklahoma's over there, and Moore is pretty good this year too. And we have Southside. So yeah, there's quite a lot of teams over there have been to the state tournament. Matter of fact, some of them have lost in the finals over there, and some of them lost in the semifinals. So we're getting kicked off with a pretty hard tournament.
Do you have any other games on your schedule that are not normal conference games?
Yes, we play Ponca City, who actually beat Sand Springs. They ranked number 1 6A. We played them twice this year. Played Bishop Kelly twice this year. Of course, I talked about the Tournament of Champions and also the Tournament of Champions in Oklahoma we play. So I believe we probably have, if not, one of the hardest schedules in girls basketball this year.
Well, kind of give us a review of your players and those that are progressing the way you wanted.
I have a young lady, TT Mitchell. She's my point guard, probably about 5'1". Scored 16 points against Bishop Kelly. Did a really good job taking care of the ball. And I also have another freshman guard that's starting this year. Her name is Journey Armstead, and she distributes the ball quite a bit. She's a pretty good sized player, really a pure point guard. Get everybody involved with the ball. And I have one young lady that's being recruited by a few Division I schools, my post player, Shay Stone, and she's done a good job for me. So quite a few other girls on the team that's participating and playing pretty good this year, and hasn't got a lot of chance to play in the past. This is their first time to really get to start and really getting a lot of game, and they've been doing pretty good at practice, and the first game showed it.
Did you say your point guard was 5'1"?
Yes, she is. 5'1" and cat quick, and she's a good shooter, and she started last year for us and led us in scoring last year, so she's coming back, and I'm looking for a lot of big things from her this year.
You know, when you have a player like that, I think it's something that the fans like to watch and enjoy, and they get to pulling for her.
Oh yeah, no doubt. She's a scrapper. She's a scrapper, and you know, we have a bench that complements our team. A few girls coming off the bench that do a great job too. Rashawn Griffin and Ariana Mack, they really do a good job of coming in and giving us a spark.
Well, Gary, do you have any players that has suddenly come forward that maybe you didn't expect when you started practicing at the beginning of school? You
know, we have one young lady that tore ACL at the end of the year and didn't get the playoffs last year, and she's slowly working her way back. She had a pretty good game. She's got a little ways to go, but I tell you what, I think if we can get her back at least 80%, we have a good chance to do special things when the postseason comes.
Well, now, you said you're playing in 3 invitational tournaments?
That's correct.
So that cuts a little off your regular schedule, but at the same time, that prepares you for tournament play, doesn't it?
It really does. Like I said, everybody asks me, a lot of people ask me, why did I get in such tough tournaments, speaking of the Tournament of Champions and the Tournament of Champions down there. And I think at the beginning of the year, you want to get better and you want to challenge yourself, because it really doesn't matter until the end of the year. There's been times where we've been 24-3 and lost in the finals because we weren't prepared. So I want to get battle tested now, and then by playoff times, we'll be ready to go play.
You know, I think what you're saying is so true, and so many times coaches don't do that. They're more interested in winning a few games than getting your team ready, because I know this is developed at East Central. If you don't get the gold ball, you haven't had a good year, have you?
You haven't had a good year at all. And you're right. A lot of teams, what they do, they pile up those victories, and it helps with the rankings. It helps with the rankings, get ranked high. And sometimes that's not always good when you play tough teams, because actually coaches don't know who you're playing. They just see your record. And so what they'll do, they'll put you down at the bottom of the rankings, and you won't get to host. That's why a lot of teams do that.
Well, Coach, we've run out of time. I want to wish you the best of luck. We'll catch you again in the future.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. We're going to take a timeout, and then we'll come back with Mick Wilson, Assistant Director of Athletics at Tulsa Public Schools.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. getting that college education. What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills, the smarts.
Yes, you.
You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
We continue inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard Assistant Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools, Mick Wilson. And Mick, not only are you an Assistant Director of Athletics, but you're also directing the Tournament of Champions this year. And I can't think of a bigger, better, more exciting basketball tournament. And it's something that comes about. It just doesn't happen. You do a lot of work to do it.
Well, it takes a lot of work, and our staff, we spend a lot of time in the office and out of the office both, just trying to get this thing prepared so that it'll be a great experience for our coaches and for the kids. That it'll be a memorable 3 days that they will, it'll be last for a lifetime. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's just a great tool for us to not only sell our department, but to sell the district. We try to put our best foot forward and always make this a great experience for both the fan and the people that are involved in it.
I think most people who are interested and are fans of the Tournament of Champions are really glad that they brought aboard girls. Now we have girls and boys for the last several years, and it kicks off at 9 o'clock. Give us a background on what's happening in the girls' bracket.
Well, we feel like our bracket, girls-wise, is a really good one. We're excited about it. We've got some really good teams, and you can come out and have breakfast and watch some basketball at 9 o'clock in the morning. And for you people that always are interested, we always tease that, yes, we'll have some coffee out there in the morning for you if you need to get you awake and watching some basketball. But this year, we've got a great field. That 9 o'clock game will be our very own East Central girls Cardinals against Barnum, who is a really strong Class B team. Again, as the format will not change, it'll always be the David and Goliath in the first round. And that's the great thing about it. It's really fun to watch, and people get into cheering for the underdogs. And then after that 9 o'clock game, we're going to go back and play girls basketball again at noon with Muldrow, who was in the state championship last year. They were in our Tournament of Champions finals last year and did a great job against Owasso. So Muldrow will play Dewar, Oklahoma, who is coming off a deep run in the state tournament in Class A. And then our evening session will be 4 o'clock, and it'll be a lot of the local folks here with the Bixby Lady Spartans against Tahlequah Sequoia. And what a game that'll be. I'm really anticipating that, not only having a big crowd, but that's going to be a good ball game. And then our nightcap for the girls will be Edmond Memorial against Victory Christian. And both those teams all those teams again are coming off state tournament runs late in the season, and we'll have some good players on the floor as well.
You know, I don't think people truly understand the amount of time that you spend in checking out and making sure, because I'm sure there's times that someone will call and they want to bring a team that they have no business bringing that particular team. They couldn't compete with the Tournament of Champions, but you do an excellent job of making sure that that team is prepared and has the type of players that can compete in the Tournament of Champions. And as you look at it this year, did any one of those teams really surprise you as you were putting them in the bracket?
No, not really. I mean, most of those teams are all quality teams, and that's the one thing about coming to the Tournament of Champions is the coaches have to be a little patient, because sometimes the offers aren't going to go out till really late. We really like to see what kind of run they're going to make during the playoffs. And so sometimes if a coach is a little jumpy or not very patient with us, they may choose to go ahead and find another tournament. And I understand that. That happens sometimes. But we really tried early on to reach out to those folks and let them know that we have some serious interest in them, and that the offer may come a little bit later. Just be patient with us. So part of that is we want to make sure we got the right teams. We want to make sure that they're returning all their key players. And again, we want to see how they perform when they're going against the best at the end of the season.
How many of those teams are ranked?
Right now in the girls, all of our teams are ranked. All of them are, I think our lowest ranked team may be number 8. Everyone is at least in the top 8. Some I anticipated to be a little higher, but aren't there yet. But I think once the season starts and they start getting into the playoffs, I think you'll see some of those teams really start to come on.
You know, I think one of the most interesting things about it is as you go as a fan and watch this tournament, then suddenly those names kind of go in the back of your mind and they'll start popping up in college and you can say, I remember seeing that player in the tournament champions. And so many of them do go on and play on the college level, don't they?
They do. We'll have, just for example, just this morning I had a couple emails from two coaches wanting to know if the brackets were out yet so they can start arranging their recruiting schedule and being able to make plans to be at the Tournament of Champions. And so that'll go on for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We'll be reached out to by several of those type of situations with those coaches that want to come out and recruit our players, both boys and girls. And so we'll try to get that information out to them as soon as possible. I told them that once this show airs and we have our press conference live today, then we'll get that information out to everyone and make it available. We'll also put it on the websites and go ahead and release it to all the media. And of course, the Tulsa World will start running the capsules and articles leading up to the tournament, so we're excited about that.
Well, it seemed like as you read off that bracket that each one of them a higher school against like a 5A against a 2A. And does that kind of operate all the way down, right?
That does, and I think that goes back to the historic part of the Tournament of Champions when it started with the boys, was that Coach Duggar really wanted to start the David versus Goliath. So you would try to find the highest ranked team in a large classification against a very highly ranked team in a lower classification. And as you know, there's been upsets as we go through the years, and we've had them in the finals a few years ago. So that'll happen from time to time, but that's what you'll always see in the first round.
Mick, stay with us. We're going to take a timeout. And then we're going to come back with Mick Wilson as we continue to take a look at the boys in this year's Tournament of Champions. Stay with us.
Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to tulsarefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. tulsarefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
My dad's always saying a little extra effort now will really pay off later. Here's how you can put in just a little extra effort and help out our schools in a big way. Just switch your checking account to TTCU. It's easy, and every time you use your school pride card, TTCU donates to our schools. So far, over $1 million. They're the only ones doing that. So make the switch to TTCU and be the person who's making a difference for our schools.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to tulsarefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. tulsarefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we continue visiting with Mick Wilson, Assistant Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools. And we talked about the girls in the Tournament of Champions. Now, let's talk about the boys in the Tournament of Champions. And it seems like that there is one team, you mentioned this to me, other people have, that really could put maybe a lot of interest from a lower classification.
Well, there is this year, and the argument has been statewide in preseason basketball about how good is Kingfisher. And I've had college coaches tell me that they're really, really good. I've talked to Bobby Allison at Memorial. He swears that they're really, really good. So it's going to be interesting. We may find out who the best boys team truly is in the state this year. And we've had this situation happen a few years ago when we had Rowland beat Union in overtime in the championship a few years ago. So we're going to find out who's really good. The one great thing that I probably should have bought a lottery ticket today that we selected these teams was that we nearly have every number one team in each classification. We're probably as close as we've ever been. We've got the number one team in 6A, number one team in 5A, 4A, 3A, and A. So we're going to see some quality basketball, we're going to see some quality coaching, and we're going to see some big crowds of people that want to come out and see some really good basketball. This arguably could be our best, on paper, could be our best boys tournament in many, many years.
Well, give our viewers the bracket.
Well, let's start out with the morning game, and that would be Fort Cobb-Broxton, who is a Class A, number one, against Putnam City West, who is 6A, number two. And that'll be a great game, and Scott Hines will probably give me a tongue lashing afterwards after he sees the bracket, but that's part of it. And then that other first session game will be our very own Booker T. Washington Hornets against Class A Whitesboro. And one little spin-off of that game, JV, is that both head coaches are from Cleveland, Oklahoma. And I think both did not play, well, Conley obviously played for his dad, but I believe that the Whitesboro coach, Billy Carr, played for another Cleveland graduate in Steve Upshaw. So we're going to have all kinds of Cleveland Tigers that want to show up and watch that 1:30 game between Booker T. Washington and Whitesboro. In the afternoon session, we're looking at 4A #1 Kingfisher against 3A #1 Kingston. What a game. Kingston was here last year and has 6'9" Jacob Germany, who's already committed early. So that'll be a great game. And then the evening session, again, will be our very own Tulsa Memorial Chargers against Hugo, Oklahoma, out of 3A. So great matchups, great games, and it'll be one that people need to get out and get their tickets. This is going to be a fun boys tournament to watch.
Well, when you went through the girls bracket, now through the boys bracket, I can just see if you go out and you stay for one session, now there's not much time between sessions, is there?
No, we usually close the arena and reopen in about an hour. Usually it's a little quicker than that because the Mabee Center staff has to kind of do some housekeeping things, but it'll all happen in less than an hour and they'll be back in. So the true basketball fans usually go out and mill around in the lobby a little bit or run up the street to Quick Trip and get a drink or a sandwich, and then they're right back ready to watch some more basketball.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's going to be 3 days of tremendous basketball, maybe better than a state tournament.
It's going to be really good. I tell you what, we're going to really push them this year because we're going to find out, like I said, who the best boys team is in the state.
What kind of response did you have from the coaches when they begin to wonder who they're going to play and look at who's in it and decide it wouldn't make any difference who we play? They're all good.
No, we've had that happen a few years ago. A coach said, well, how come we didn't have a seeding meeting? And I said, well, that's not really how the tournament has been set up. And I said, well, who would you rather play? And he looked and he goes, no, I think we'll just stay where we're at. So that happens from time to time. They want to have a seeding meeting, but then when you say, well, who are you going to pick to play, that sometimes there's not a good option because you've got to show up and play for 3 days. Conley, Phipps, and I had this same conversation here a while back, and Conley was saying the same thing. He said, we just need to come and play three good days of basketball, and then we'll see where we're at.
Well, tell our audience how you go about selecting them. I mean, you don't just read something or someone call you. You do some investigating in each of those bracket.
We do, and really it starts out, a lot of times you go by hearsay. People will tell you that this team is really good or this team has a really big-time player, a marquee player that you need to see. And so we'll either try to get out and see them in person, which that happens some, or I get on Huddle. If they have game tape on Huddle, we'll get on and watch video, try to do some evaluating that way. And then again, always reach out to high school coaches, and I reach out occasionally to a college coach too if they're recruiting this player or if this player is as good as advertised. So we try to find that out as well, because a lot of times it's not only about having the best team, but it's also having a key marquee player or two that's really going to get people excited to come out and watch games.
And the more you talk about it, both boys and girls, and when Jen Sanders comes aboard to talk about the entertainment that's going to happen, it just, for a fan, can you beat it?
I don't think so. I think, and again, I'm partial to it, but I think we do a really good job of trying to make it fan-friendly and player-friendly. We try to make sure that there's no dead air time. We want games and contests and music, and we try to make it a great environment for people so that when there is a little bit of downtime, you've got something else to enjoy rather than just watch basketball.
Mick, always a pleasure having you aboard, and look forward to seeing you at the Tournament of Champions, and that's coming up right after Christmas.
Thank you, JV.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. More coming up as we visit with Jen Sanders, Assistant Director Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools. That's next. Don't go away.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard the Assistant Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools, Jen Sanders. And Jen, when we take a look at what's going to happen with the Tournament of Champions and the fact that we will have entertainment, talk about the entertainment.
This is a really exciting part of my job. I get to schedule all of the entertainment for the Tournament of Champions. And when you give folks the call to say you've been invited to the Tournament of Champions to perform at halftime, we get lots of squeals and excitement and, oh my gosh, I can't believe we've been invited. So it's really fun to do that. We have a few folks that are returning from last year, some really good dance crews. Carver Dance team will be there along with the Prancing Pearls. that were there last year who compete nationally. We also have a jump rope team and some pom teams. So it's just exciting to get to invite those kids, and they get to come out and perform in front of a very large crowd in the very amazing Mabee Center.
Well, you know, and I think this happens too. I think that more people, a lot of people come out there to see their child or their grandchild or their friend in that particular part of the entertainment. And then they kind of get caught, hey, that was fun. I'm going to go back, watch some games and watch some other type of entertainment. But you have, what, 24 slots, and you have 20 of them filled.
That's correct. Yeah, we try to fill every slot. It's really exciting because we also have some basketball teams that are going to come out and do an exhibition game at halftime. We try to mimic a lot of things that colleges and the Thunder do as far as, you know, a short exhibition game between two teams or some AAU teams here in town. So like the Gilcrease World Changers will be there again this year to do an exhibition game. We Are One Basketball will be there to do an exhibition game. So we really like to showcase some of our talent, young and upcoming talent here in Tulsa, but also have a variety of activities. We have a gymnastics group that's going to be there to perform. But yeah, like you said, people get caught up thinking they're going to go and watch their kid or grandkid perform, and then they're excited because these are some of the best basketball in the state.
That's right. Now, how long have you been doing this with the entertainment?
This is my third year to do it. And like I said, I mean, it's really, really a lot of fun to invite those kiddos out. And every year there's a few conflicts with some groups that have performed the year before. Like this year, we don't get the Phipps, which is the Players in Progress, out of Chickasha, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They are so much fun, and we love to have them, but this year they're playing at their hometown college basketball game. So, but we will have some other groups. Like I said, the Mingo Valley jump rope team, along with the Preston jump rope team. They will perform, and those kids are just absolutely amazing.
Well, I can't wait to see them because I'm sure the concession stand maybe don't like what you do because you don't get up and go to the concession stand.
Well, most of those kids, as soon as they're done performing, are starving. So yes, they go hit the concession stand pretty hard. But yeah, like you said, we do a lot of fun stuff. We'll do some T-shirt drops. We'll do some T-shirt tosses. We'll have Natalie Cash there. She's going to do some halftime games. She's from K95, and in fact, she's actually up on the scaffolding right now raising bikes for some of our bike club kiddos. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, now you mentioned that. Maybe you ought to tell our audience a little bit about what's happening with the bike element.
Oh, well, we're actually, just trucking right along with Bike Club. We've added 5 new middle schools this year. And like I said, Natalie Cash from K95, one of her benefits this year, she goes up on scaffolding. She's on top of Owasso High School right now, raising money and raising bikes for our kids here in Tulsa.
You know, I think what you're doing in that particular field is so remarkable for the kids that get involved.
Yeah, we've had quite a few kids go and compete recently, and they've won. So it's really exciting to see these kids now go from bike club to now competitive cycling, and they're successful.
Well, do you have coaches or teachers or schools?
We have sponsors.
Can we get our kids in?
Oh, you bet. We have a long laundry list of schools that are asking for bike clubs. And, it costs quite a bit to fund these bike clubs, about $15,000 a school to get started. So, and all of that is donor funded. Like it's funded through Humble & Sons, Jason Horton and Mike Wozniak. So with that, it takes a bit. So we have a list of schools, and we evaluate those schools, and we try to strategically place them all over the city.
You know, I think it's remarkable when you look at everything that Gil Cloud and his staff does for kids in the Tulsa Public Schools and what the elements are. I think it's remarkable what you do.
There's not a better place to work.
You like it.
That's right.
I can certainly understand why. And again, all of the different entertainment groups that come to the Tournament of Champions, we want to encourage all of our people to get out there and watch that. Not only will you enjoy the basketball, but you will enjoy the entertainment at halftime of the entertainment, won't they?
The best tournament in the state.
I agree with you. And I'll tell you what, more and more people are thinking that.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that, especially in 6A and 5A, because that's where the state tournament is.
That's right.
So they get to do all of it. Well, listen, Jen, always a pleasure having you aboard, and look forward to seeing you at the Tournament of Champions, and just keep that entertainment coming.
Thank you.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Gil Cloud, Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools. That's next, Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to tulsarefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. tulsarefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
My dad's always saying a little extra effort now will really pay off later. Here's how you can put in just a little extra effort and help out our schools in a big way. Just switch your checking account to TTCU. It's easy, and every time you use your school pride card, TTCU donates to our schools. So far, over $1 million. They're the only ones doing that. So make the switch to TTCU and be the person who's making a difference for our schools.
We continue Inside Tulsa Athletics as we bring aboard the Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools, Gil Cloud. And Gil, when we take a look at what's going to happen coming up with the Tournament of Champions, that is just something that I think those of us in basketball look forward every year.
I tell you, you've heard all about it today. We've had all the key players.
Yes.
We have two of the key coaches. We have our tournament director and then our director of halftime entertainment. I think you've gotten a full plethora of what those 3 days are going to be in December. And, you know, it's really interesting. We talk about this, but we work on the Tournament of Champions a little bit every month of the year. There's something that we do during the 12 months leading up to the December date that is relevant to the Tournament of Champions. You know, whether it's procuring teams, it's finding sponsors, or refinding sponsors. It is looking at what we can do to enhance the entertainment. We work with the Mavy Center people on what they can do as far as providing a service to us. I mean, you just go on, and we have a meeting on this Monday afternoon where we have a 4-page checklist of every single thing that happens at that tournament, and we'll go through there, and everyone on our staff is assigned a particular job to make sure that the teams are happy, that our fans are happy, and it's a great experience for our student athletes.
You know, you bring out a point there, Gil, that to me that so many people don't understand. But the Tournament of Champions, the programs that have to do with athletics, you just can't bring them up the day of the game or the day of the event. And what you and your staff do to prepare those, I don't think the public understands how much is done for the boys and girls in athletics.
Well, it's a year-long process, as I said, and you know we'll have a press conference Wednesday, the day this show is going to be on, and we have all the teams come in, you know, and we try to have some type of souvenir for each of the student athletes that play in the tournament. We disseminate all of that at this meeting because when they come to Tulsa to play basketball, we want them to play basketball. We don't worry about handing out jerseys and sweatshirts and that type of thing, programs and finding out what the bracket's like and so on. So we do all that at our press conference at the Marriott Southern Hills. And that takes care of it. The media gets an opportunity to visit with each of the head coaches of the 16 schools because they'll all be there, you know, for that because they want to see who they're playing. And, you know, it's always really interesting when they get that packet and they look inside that packet and see who they're playing in the game. And I'll never forget 2 years ago, had a coach from a smaller school, and he looked at his bracket and he went over to Mick Wilson and he said, Mick, how come I'm going to play them? And he said, well, look under, who would you rather play? And he said, you know, that's okay. Because they're all good.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that's absolutely true. You know, and that makes it so exciting, I think, for the fan base. And I've talked about this with Terrell Lester. The fact that when boys and girls were put together, I think that helped the tournament.
Oh, I do too, because there's so many tournaments that are played that way today. I think people are used to that. You know, one of the things that we do a little bit different is that people want boys and girls teams to go to the same place. Well, this is a special tournament.
Yeah.
So if the boys and girls teams are both special teams, we can bring two of them, but we hardly ever have a boys and girls team from the same school in this tournament, simply because you've got to be the elite. And this year, we have more #1 teams right now currently than we've had in the last 7. I mean, it's unbelievable, the #1 teams that are coming into this tournament undefeated and so on. Now they've got 3 more weeks to play, and things can happen. But right now, I mean, it is the elite of the elite in Oklahoma high school basketball.
Well, we're going to talk more about it, as time goes on. But anything else going on within the athletic department that our viewers might want to know about?
Well, our winter season's kicked off, and we've done pretty well. Our basketball teams are playing well. We got both our swim groups, the Memorial and Booker T swim group, and I noticed we had over the weekend, East Central had 4 people in the finals of the Mogi wrestling tournament, and two champions down there. So we're full blown right now. We've got everybody on deck, and we've got 3 more weeks of school. And then we'll go into our winter practice mode. And one of the things we do in winter practice, people don't realize, is that we are in energy management to make sure that we don't utilize energy that we don't need to utilize in those buildings. So we have practice times that we set up. Every high school, junior high, they can practice between 10 and 4. And I tell them, they just work it out between the boys and the girls and the swimming and the wrestling whenever you want to do it. But that's when the heat is going to be on in the building. It's between 10 and 4. Anytime there's a school day that we have a snow day, then it is volunteer, but it'll only be on from 10 to 4 on those days. And of course, we have a district policy that if we have a snow day, then we don't play that day. Simply, we don't want to put kids out on the road or put our buses out on the road. And I know some of the suburban districts kind of have a wait and see type thing, but if we're not in school in the morning, we're not going to be playing that evening. And we've seen those days, where it clears and it's all good and everything, but we weren't in school that day, so we're just not going to play.
Well, I'll tell you, it's just something that I'm looking forward to. We're about to run out of time, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks, but we'll know more about the Tournament of Champions at that time.
Absolutely.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. More coming up right after this.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
Thanks for being with us on the show today, and we certainly want to invite you to join us again when we come back and continue to follow the athletic programs of the Tulsa Public Schools, both boys and girls. But certainly enjoyed this special guest today, and really want to encourage you to get out and support all of the programs, as well as to support the Tournament of Champions. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks on Inside Tulsa Athletics.